All right, guys, straight up and down. GM is now the next company, right? The next auto manufacturing company in America to bring back the V8 with the Storm. They have abandoned their $300 million plan to invest in more electric vehicles. They've abandoned that. $300 million, they abandoned that. And now they're tripling down. $888 million is what GM is going to invest in their next generation V8 production. You heard me right. Next generation V8 production. They invest in almost $1 billion in that, building an entirely new V8 specific plant up in New York. Things are finally going back to the way they were. We're getting away from this electric car market BS, right? Ford already did it with the Mustang. Chevy has recently done it with the ZR1, just a bigger V8. So you know what that means for Dodge. That HEMI's got to come back with the force. Let's talk about it. What's up, guys? It's your boy Knockout 360 here with another video, man. So you can tell I'm in the house that makes this a house vlog. You know what's going down when I come around. Let's get into it. Car content, car shows, car reviews, car meets, and police chases happen on this channel. So if you're into that, make sure that you stick around. For everyone else, hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so that you know what's coming out and when it's coming out. So boom, I'm gonna go ahead and put you guys in tune with what I'm seeing here. You see it there. GM invests $888 million in U.S.-based plant for next generation V8 production. U.S. based, right? That's based on what Trump has been pushing for, is to bring all manufacturing back to America. All American products need to be manufactured and built in America. Now, prior to Trump, this would probably be in Brazil or Mexico or Canada or somewhere else. But now that we got Trump in office, it's in the United States. $888 million. The sixth generation or sixth iteration of GM small block V8s will be built in Buffalo, New York. Shout out to New York. The engines will power future full-size trucks and SUVs. Now, we're talking about GM. We're not talking about Chevy or Ford. GM doesn't have a sports car or, you know, a muscle car or anything like that. They basically just, you know, produce full-size trucks and SUVs. But either way, General Motors announced $888 million investment in the Tonawanda propulsion plant for the production of next-generation V8s. The Buffalo, New York-based factory will start producing the new V8s in 2027. So we got about 2 years now, or a year and a half, depending on when they start doing it, which likely aligns with the next generation Silverado and GMC Sierra. You know what I mean? Looking at here, they were heavily invested in electric vehicles, which sounds familiar, right? Dodge. They were heavily invested in it, but they brought out the Chevy Equinox EV, the Cadillac Escalade IQ, which I've heard that people have had nothing but issues with that IQ. Like, why would you even want an electric Escalade? Like, give me the big V8. I want that Escalade V. And even if it's not the Escalade V, just give me the V8, right? They've had a lot of issues with the IQ, and then the Silverado EV truck. I didn't know they had an EV truck for Silverado. But that's all done. You know what I mean? Going to Wall Street Journal, at one point they had plans to pump $300 million into electric vehicle production at the upstate New York plant, but now we'll take that money, triple down on it, and put it into V8s. They announced that they're investing $888 million into the production of next generation V8s. So, I mean, you know GM like I know GM. They basically got trucks and SUVs. But, I mean, what I will say is that this right here is kind of the tide shifting in the muscle car market. You know what I mean? The American car market. When your boy, I mean, let's just be honest here. I'm not trying to make this political or anything like that. But, you know, when a different administration was in office, I'll say it that way, everything was electric. I mean, you know, we remember at one point there was a bill that basically said by 2030, I want to say 2032 or 2035, that all cars built in the United States were going to be electric. You know what I mean? All cars, whether it was, you know, from Dodge, Chevy, Ford, wherever. If it's built in America, it was going to be a V8 by it was going to be electric by 2030. All of that shit has been, you know, repealed. You know what I mean? They've repealed all that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? They announced that they were going to do $300 million, but now they've, you know, instead of doing that, they're putting $888 million into V8s. You know, it's going to be built in Flint, Michigan, Toluca, Mexico. Okay, well, you know, you can't win them all. But, you know, small block V8s, whatever the case may be, and it's going to bring more jobs, more money, tax credits, all that stuff. So the V8 is coming back. You know what I mean? And let's be honest here, with Dodge most recently getting rid of the entry-level RT electric charger, it wasn't working. Nobody was buying that. You know what I mean? Nobody was buying that whatsoever. What was it? 440 something horsepower? Let me see. 220 Dodge Charger RT. horsepower. Yeah, 456 horsepower. Nobody wanted that shit. Look at my city, man. Look at all the discounts and rebates in my city for this damn car. Every single 2025 Dodge Charger Daytona that's on sale is green because it's significantly lower than the MSRP. I mean, this was 85, this is 68, 85, 59, almost 30,000. 75, 67, like they're doing whatever they can to get these cars off the lot at this point. You know what I mean? And the reason being is because they've already axed the RT. So the RT is no longer in production. You'll never see it again as far as electric is concerned. And two, they're realizing that what we've always known, that nobody wants an electric car, especially not an electric muscle car. You know, nobody asked for it. Nobody wants it. Now that it's here, people aren't even like, it doesn't really matter how low on these cars you go, to be quite honest with you. Nobody wants these cars. I've seen, and we've talked about these cars here recently on the channel, where some dealerships are discounting these cars up to $30,000 off and they're still not selling. No, like people would rather, I would rather drive a V6 Pentastar Charger or V6 Pentastar Chrysler 300 before I'll buy a Dodge Charger Daytona electric joint. You know what I mean? Regardless of the V6 not being powerful, it's just, I don't want this. I don't want Power Shot, whatever the hell that is. I actually know what that is. It's when you push that button. It's almost like nitrous. It gives you a boost, but I don't want that bullshit. And you don't want it either. And Dodge is finally realizing that, which is why they've gotten rid of the RT. Only after, what, a year and a half at this point? And I'm going to be honest with you, they're probably going to discontinue the Scat Pack as well, because the Scat Pack is the one that's above this one. And that one's the one that's listed at, what, 670 horsepower? Yeah, 670 horsepower, all electric, dual motor, you know what I'm saying? Or dual battery, I should say. And look at this. This is Charlotte, North Carolina. Every single one of the Scat Packs are on discount as well. Every single one of them are on discount. That's why they're green, is because they're below MSRP. You know what I'm saying? And they're not selling either. Nobody wants them. You know, you don't want them, neither do I. So the Scat Pack is going to get discontinued here shortly. And then, of course, the 6-pack is coming out this summer, later this summer, which is going to be the inline 6 Hurricane engine. That's going to sell better than the RT and the Scat Pack, but I'm going to be honest with you, nobody's buying that either. You know, nobody's going to trade in a 392 or even an RT for an inline 6, regardless of the power. Like, I don't care about the power of the 6-pack. Let's see what the 6-pack is going to be putting down. Nope, that's Scat. Let's see what the 6-pack is going to be putting down. Yeah, hell no. Hell no. They got the 2-door and then the 4-door. High output is going to be 550 and then standard output is going to be 420. Hell no. Hell no. No, absolutely not. It's not going to work either. So the 6-pack is not going to work. The electric cars are not going to work. So needless to say, the HEMI's coming back. Like I said, it's going to take time. They're not going to be able to just drop 392s and Hellcat motors in these cars within the next 365 days. So what we see now is basically what Dodge is going to be stuck with. But the HEMI is going to come back. It's just the next 2 years for Dodge is probably just going to be real nasty. I got to be honest with you. It's just going to be real nasty because we're going to be looking at this body style that nobody wants and nobody asked for. And we may get a HEMI at the end of the summer. That's what they've been telling us. We should be getting a HEMI with the Rams because Tim Kaniskins took over Ram. So we should be getting a HEMI back in the trucks. And then, of course, they promised that the TRX is going to come back with even more power than before. People are speculating that it's going to have a red-eye engine. So we're talking 797, 800 something. You know what I mean? 807 if it's a jailbreak or whatever the case may be. So the HEMI is going to come back. It's just going to take time. In between that time, however, unfortunately, Ford, Chevy, they're capitalizing on this time. Chevy just dropped the ZR1, and we're going to talk about that in a separate video, but the ZR1 is easily the most powerful, fastest car that's stock from the dealership, off the dealership floor that's ever been produced in America. Even more so than the Demon 170. Now, you're going to pay for it. I've been seeing numbers as high as 200 G's. You know what I'm saying? $200,000 for that car. You're going to pay for it, but you're going to pay for it knowing that you've got the most powerful car on the road that ever came from a dealership, you know? So clearly Chevy is double down on the V8s, you know what I mean, with that car. And then, of course, Ford is tripling down on it. I mean, every Ford Mustang at this point, 5.0, what is it called? The Dark Horse, GT 350 and 350R are now putting down 800 horsepower. The Shelby Super Snake is 800 plus. The GTD is 800 plus. All V8 powered. You know what I mean? They're tripling down on the V8. So needless to say, everything's going to go back to the V8. Unfortunately, Dodge is just kind of fucked for the next 2 years, I think. At least for the next year, I'd say. While they try to reintegrate the V8 back into their cars, they're fucked for a little while, because you got to think about it. Dodge had the HEMI in the Durango, the Jeep Trackhawk, the Ram T-Rex, the Jeep 392, the Wrangler joint. Remember that? The Jeep Wrangler 392 that they were trying to sell for $92,000. I remember that. The Jeep Wrangler 392 had a V8 in it. The Charger, the Challenger, even the damn Chrysler 300 had the 6.4 in it at one point, along with the 5.7. They had V8 Hemis in everything that was moving. Everything. So it's going to take them time to reintegrate those Hemi V8s into everything that, you know, Dodge and Jeep and Durango at one point or another was doing. They're going to really have to start from the ground up, because a lot of people have moved on, and I can't blame you. You know, for my subscribers out there that at one point was Dodge this, Dodge that, if you traded in your 392 and went out and got a Dark Horse or a 350 or a 350R, I can't blame you. You know what I mean? I can't get mad at you for doing that. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people have had their 392 since, I mean, some people have had their 392 since fucking 2015. And that's 10 years. You know what I'm saying? You've had a Charger for 10 years. And you've got a couple options. You could have upgraded to a Hellcat, that's true, if you were able to get your hands on a Hellcat when they were available like that. Or you could have just jumped ship entirely and said, you know what? If Dodge isn't going to do anything, I'm going somewhere else. I'm going to get a Chevy. I know a good friend of mine that traded in his 392 Challenger for a Chevy Corvette C8. I can't blame him. It's lighter, it's faster, it's probably just as fun, if not more fun. I can't blame him one bit. And same thing for you guys out there. If you're sitting on a 2019 or 2018 or 2017 392 or something like that, and you're like, I want more power, but I really want something kind of different, the Hellcat is the exact same, right? My Hellcat on the inside and even the outside looks the exact same as my 392 Scat Pack wide body. No difference whatsoever, except for, of course, the power, you know what I'm saying, and the emblems. But if you wanted something different, and obviously Dodge is not giving you that, you don't want no fucking electric, whatever this is, jump ship. And a lot of people have, you know what I'm saying? But for the next at least a year for Dodge, maybe 2 years, Dodge is just gonna, they're gonna suffer. I'm gonna be honest with you, they're gonna suffer. And it's going to take the Hemi coming back in full force for them to get back on top. And when I say full force, I'm talking full force. I'm talking more power in the 392s or whatever the equivalent is, more power in the Hellcats, more power in the Demons, all that stuff. They've got to reclaim that crown. And they've got to come out with bigger V8s, simple and plain, because everyone else is moving, even GM. And we just talked about the GM and how they're basically a truck and an SUV company. But of course, you know, they're dropping them in the Silverado. Chevy themselves is already doubled down on the V8 with the Corvette. So, I mean, everyone else is doing it. It's time for Dodge to do it. But I thought that was interesting that GM had invested almost $1 billion in building next generation V8s. And we're just talking V8s. We're not talking hybrids. We're not talking twin turbo V8s. Just plain old fashioned 8-cylinder engines. You know what I mean? No funny stuff. 8-cylinder V8 engines. That's all that GM is investing in. So we're not going backwards, but we're going back to what works, you know? And GM sees it, Ford sees it, Chevy sees it, and it's time for Dodge to see it, man. But that's where we are with that, man. So if you're a GM boy, you should be happy, you know? They're going back to the V8s. So the market is slowly moving back to V8s as opposed to this electric bullshit that's just not working. People are not buying these cars. They're not satisfied with them. Not to mention, depending on where you live, just the infrastructure may not work for you. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, I don't really look for electric, what do you call them? Electric power stations, electric plants, whatever. Electric power stations. I'm not, you know, mentally looking for these things, so they really don't stand out to me. But it's one of those things, like, I just don't see them everywhere that I go. Like, they don't stand out to me. So if you're an electric Tesla guy or something like that, you probably know where all the hot spots are around Charlotte. But it's like, in my case, they don't stand out to me. So I don't recognize them. I don't see them. It doesn't stand out to me in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But, you know, a lot of companies are realizing that electric powered cars may be the future, just not the present, the present future, if that makes sense. So as always, guys, like, subscribe, comment. It's Beanie Boy Knockout 360, man. GM is bringing back the V8s. Ford is bringing back the V8s. Chevy is bringing back the V8s. Hopefully we can say the same thing for Dodge. Peace.